All right, peace and much love. Zin Uru here. Welcome to the latest installment of Message from the Minista. This is Message from the Minista 59, and this week's Message from the Minista is titled The Flow of Power. The Flow of Power. Let's start off with saying flow is big up to Minister G. Simone, the acknowledges G. Simone. Flow. Remember, follow life's outcome willingly. Follow life's outcome willingly. The reason I wanted to bring that up at first is because as we go today, this is something we want to return to, is to follow life's outcome willingly, because this is where we can find our real power in, the ability to flow with life itself. And when we can flow with life itself, we can direct our movement within life while we're in the flow. So first of all, let's thank each and every one of you for being here this week. It's good to see so many friendly faces, friendly souls, warm hearts, and to those who are in the future, and to those who are watching this long after we may have left the earth. I like to project myself into the far, far future. I'd like to say welcome here this week, and always remember that there is no such thing as time and space. It's spirit. And time and space is a construct. It's real. Time and space are real, but they're also an illusion to the spirit, because the spirit exists outside of time and space while simultaneously existing within time and space. And the reason that that's important for us to know is all of us being here together is part of this flow, part of this following life's outcome willingly. Each one of us has something different that brought us here to listen to this message from the minister today, but each one of us was in a flow, and it was God itself, it was the universe itself moving us in that flow. Follow life's outcome willingly. Remember, when we resist, they say there's a saying that says, what you resist will persist. And that's why it's so important that this week, while we talk about the word power, and want to break down what power actually means, not maybe what the colonizer has taught us that it means, but what actual power is. And it's our ability to navigate life as life is presenting itself to us. And a lot of what that has to do, what that navigation has to do, what that flow is our ability, our abilities. What can we actually do? It's the difference between swimming or drowning, floating or sinking. And, it's a big difference in there, because a lot of people, when the storms of life hit them, they sink. And they become, addicts. And then I'm not disrespecting any addicts out there, but they become addicts. They fall into depression. We've all been there. We've all done that. We may be there right now. But those who want to really tune into the power of God, into the power that God has supplied us with, we want to be able to flow with life and the way that life is moving. And we want to be able to accomplish those things in life while we're in the flow of life. And this comes down to what our abilities are. What can we actually do? When the storms of life hit, can you build a shelter? When the storms of life hit, do you know how to be still? Do you have a social attitude that somebody will bring you into their shelter? What is the ability that you actually have when the storms of life hit? And also not just the storms of life, but the sunny seasons. We're talking about all the seasons of life, the ebb and flow of nature, the ebb and flow of life, and what we can accomplish during that ebb and flow, because it's like this flow. It's like time is still. Time doesn't change, but all things change in time. So what we're doing is, what we're calling life is our living being, our living breath, moving through the flow of life as we grow and as we change. And as change around us, and the change that's really most important is the change within us. Because once we can change the inner, we can change the outer. Too often, people let the world define who they are. And people, we let the world define us. We've fallen victim to this. We talk about this week in and week out, but it's always important because this is the reminder of what the hip hop side is about. Remember, hip hop is the art of self-creation. And so while we're creating ourselves, there's a certain power and empowerment that comes with that. And God is assisting us with that empowerment, and even the outer world is assisting us with that empowerment. But we have to be able to go with that flow, or that power could knock us over. That power could wipe us out, knock us out, put us down, lay us out. And if that does happen, get back up. Get yourself up. You've been knocked down, get yourself up. Listen to this song. If you've never heard Get Yourself Up from the teacher, KRS-One, on the album, it's Sneak Attack. Listen to that song. It is one of the greatest songs by the teacher, one of my favorite live tracks that he does. Ba-da-dum, 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 ba-da-dum. If you want to hear how to make a real boom bap beat, listen to that beat. That beat is nasty. But anyway, so if you do get knocked down, get yourself up. That's still going with the flow. Sometimes, we've all been there. If you don't get knocked down in life, you're never going to learn how to get back up. It's like when you're a child, you learn to walk by falling down. It's the jolt. It's the oh, boom. Oh, I just hit my ass and I just fell down, but I was walking. I want to be able to keep walking without falling down. So while we're in this flow of life, the real power is how we react to life, how we respond. I should say. We don't really want to react to life, instantaneously, although reaction isn't a bad thing. But it's really more down to how do we respond to life. And think about our response, also our ability to respond, our responsibility. And although we will not be reading from Perform Responsibility this week in the Gospel of Hip Hop, we will be reading from Our God, the Great Event. But those of you who want a little deeper understanding or overstanding of what I'm speaking about tonight, you may want to, revisit responsibility. How you respond and our ability to respond to certain situations and the way that life is coming at us. This is empowerment. This is where our power lies. And we're going to, once again, we're going to look at the definition of the word power tonight. And what we'll see is power, the very first definition is one's ability. What can we actually do? What can one actually do in life? There's a lot of people out there. They're experts on everything, but they can't really do anything. They're called critics. There's critics everywhere. Maybe a more modern day term would be called what used to be called critics are now turned into haters. And I remember early on in my apprenticeship with the teacher and with the Temple of Hip Hop, all the haters and critics I had openly. And I know I got those haters and critics out there now, but they don't dare challenge me because I'm a seasoned veteran. I'm well established. That cat's wilding out. I was warned she was getting wild tonight, so hopefully she don't knock anything over. But I was challenged all the time. I was challenged publicly. I was challenged in my personal life. People will call me up, have all kinds of ideas, want to chew me out, tell me I don't know what I'm doing, that a white boy has no business being in the temple. I actually got told that, I can't even believe the amount of, I guess you would call it racism. I don't know what else to call it, of the haters, right? But here it is, 2004 to 2022, 18 years later, where's all the haters? 18 years later, where's all the haters? I'll tell you where all the haters are at. They're in the same place they were 18 years ago. Why? Because God is real. My God is real. And, you're going to face that in life. And when you know that those haters and those critics are there to empower you, or you will navigate life. You will go with the flow of the hate. Oh, I got hate coming at me. Let me go with the flow of that. I know they're here to just empower me. I know they're to empower my resolve, for me to think deeper about who I am, and for me to keep putting my best foot forward as I grow and expand in my awareness, my consciousness, my being, my influence, my hip hop. So yeah, man, you're going to have haters in your life. You're going to have those critics in your life who are going to be wanting to come after you. You're also going to have the biters too. Let's throw the biters in there too. And those biters, what's funny to me about a biter, it's not just somebody who may be influenced by you. It's somebody who literally takes your style, takes your swagger, takes your ideas, takes your philosophies, and then claims them for their own. You're going to have that too, especially as you become empowered and you go with the flow of life. And this, though, is what we navigate through. This is where our empowerment comes in. This is where our abilities are as we navigate through. Like I said, when you know that the hater is there to empower you, you walk with a certain character, you walk in a certain ideal, you walk in a certain principles, and you have to be above them, smarter than them, faster than them. Your hatred does not matter. Your hatred is beneath me. It's a low-level attack that I will correct with the display of skills, with the display of superior skills. All these rappers, I'll call them rappers now, who didn't like it when I was rapping or starting out. I was too old. I didn't have a good flow. My flow wasn't strong enough. I'll rap them all now. I remember the MCs or the rappers that I got criticized in 18 years ago when I first started out. Like, they're nowhere to be found. You can't hear them nowhere. They ain't made no albums. They don't record no videos. They don't do nothing. But they were experts on me. Yo, you're wilding out. They knew everything on me, right? They had me all figured out. And it's funny because while they were so busy criticizing me, what happened, they thought they had me figured out, but I had me figured out. They didn't even have themselves figured out, but somehow they had me figured out. Somehow the hater has you figured out. Somehow the doubter has you figured out. Nah, my G, they don't even have themselves figured out. They don't know nothing about themselves. Because when somebody is on the path of self-creation, when somebody's on the path to true self-discovery and their purpose in hip-hop, you ain't got no time to be a hater. You ain't got no time to be a critic. You've only got time to do what you do, which is create. You know, check that out. The opposite of a hater is a creator. So you are either being a hater or a creator. Which one are you? I'm only talking to the creators out there. And all those haters out there who doubted me, yo, I thank you from the bottom, from the inner warmth of my heart. I thank all my critics, all my doubters, and all my haters. You made me who I am today. The man you see before you was made, forged in the fire of hatred, forged in the fire of doubt, forged in the fire of criticism. How many other white dudes do you know running around with the teacher KRS-One for 20 years? For real, what? I'm asking you. It's me. That's it. Now, there's others who come along. There's a few others who've come along over the years, but ain't nobody been putting in that time and that energy into the temple of hip hop. And I'm saying that because I had this same attitude in the beginning. I had the same attitude back then, but I wasn't empowered in that way back then. I knew where I was going because I could feel my future self calling me, talking to me, speaking to me. And so when those haters and those doubters and those critics would come along, I had to just take it. I had to just sit there like, get there in the b-boy stance, right? And just sit there and be like, say what you got to say. Do what you got to do. Talk about me behind my back to everybody. Don't like this, don't like that about Zin. Why? Because I know who I am and I know where I'm going. And I don't even know what I'm capable of, but I do know I'm capable of something. And that's what it is. Like you're gonna have to really let that hatred fuel the fire inside. See it for what it is. It's fuel for the fire, the inner fire. And this is a world full of haters and doubters and scoffers. And you can use that fuel to write your rhymes. You can use that fuel to make the dopest beats. You can use that fuel to become the greatest version of you that you could possibly be. And guess what? Not only do we have those haters and doubters and critics in our lives, we've got something that they don't. They've got it, but they don't put it to use. And that's God. You know what? I would hear those haters and doubters, and I'd go back and I'd be mad sometimes. I'd be like, yo, God, what's up? What am I supposed to do? Nothing. Wait, shouldn't I confront them? Shouldn't I say something? Shouldn't I? And sometimes you do got to confront people and say something. I'm not saying that you don't ever do that. But when it's just consistent and it's just nah, like online. But you start hearing this over and over again, and all of a sudden you start trying to put out every little hater's fire, you'll be distracted from your purpose. You'll be distracted from your path. You'll be distracted from your trajectory and your aim. What are you aiming towards? What's your trajectory? What are you trying to get to? Now, if you pay attention to every hater upon the path, you'll never get to your destination. You know, it's funny like that, and you'll know when you can actually tell sometimes when something big is about to happen in your life. Yo, you need to chill out, okay? Come on, listen, chill out. You'll know something big is about to come in life because you will start seeing doubters and haters on your path. And you'll know that like, yo, this is a time that I really need to focus in on what I'm about to do and not be distracted by what they're saying. I've watched the teacher do this time and time again, you know, all the time. Whenever he's about to give a big demonstration or wherever something, you know, like the gospel of hip hop's coming out or, you know, the new album's coming out, you start hearing a little chatter online or chatter in person and this and that. And it is funny because they're trying to distract him, but they don't understand that like that's the fuel to the fire. That actually causes us to be more focused when we know this. So I don't know how long this message from the minister is this week. Last week's message was so empowered, you know, it was so like huge. And what came through last week, I hope that you go back and see it. The view count was kind of low last week compared to the week before, the 2 weeks before that. But I knew that last week's message wasn't really for everybody because it was so strong for those who weren't really ready to hear it yet. This cat's getting to be a distraction, but she ain't being a hater. Sometimes you'll have responsibilities that can be a distraction, and that's part of going with the flow too. That's what being empowered is. I'm going to get this message from the minister done, even though the cat's wilding out. She hasn't done this for a while. It's kind of funny to watch. So as you're going through this, as you're working towards your goals, as you're working towards what you're aiming for, your self-empowerment requires that you go with the flow. Our self-empowerment requires that we go with the flow. And a lot of what going with the flow is our ability to let go. Let go of things that don't matter. Somebody gets on your nerves, somebody's talking trash, somebody's all this. Just you can let it go. You can let go and let God. I was thinking this week, I was working out earlier this week, lifting some weights, right? And it reminded me that I did want to bring this up this week is that in the physical world, what we do in the physical world when we want to get stronger is we lift heavier weights, right? We lift heavier weights to get stronger in the physical world. But in the spirit, we get stronger by letting go things that weigh us down. See the difference there? See the yin and the yang? See the reflection there? In the physical world, we pick up weights to make us stronger. We pick up things that are heavy for us to make us stronger. But in the spiritual world, those weights, those things that try and bring us down, we let those go. We let go and we let God. So when somebody's trying to bring you down, you let go of that weight that's trying to bring you down. And it may even come from the person. It's not funny how it works because it's actually really serious. But what will happen is the person who shouldn't be doing it to you will be the person doing it to you. It could be a partner. It could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be a best friend, it could be any number of people in your life that as you start working on your path, as you start working on your purpose, as you start listening to the voice of God, that person who matters most in your life may be the one who betrays you in life. And if that happens, or when that happens, when people start betraying you, or people start putting you down, the best thing to do, and learn it while you're young. It took me a while to get here, right? It took me practice, I should say, to get there because I knew the philosophy, but you know, it's one of those things that is easier said than done at first. But just like lifting weights, although like that 20-pound weight looks heavy to do curls with, after a while, it just becomes lighter and lighter. So at the very beginning, that hate and that, the disses and all of that's coming at you, it feels heavy at first, and you put it down, and you're like, oh man, that was heavy. I'll put it down again. But after a while, it comes, and you just don't even notice that it's there. You don't even notice. Like I've had people have to point me out. They just dissed you. I'm like, oh, they did? I didn't even notice. I was completely unaffected by somebody's bad attitude. Because why? I got work to do. I got something I got to do. And yeah, sometimes you got to call somebody out and be like, yo, chill out, man. Or, yo, man, I don't know why you got to say that about me, because that ain't true. And maybe it's more of a reflection of you. Because remember, people are gonna criticize you about what they feel about themselves most of the time. If you're full of life and wonder and love and peace and you have confidence, you're not going to be putting other people down. You're going to be trying to build them up. So if somebody's trying to pull you down, it's because they feel down about themselves. They feel ugly about themselves. They feel that they're unworthy. And if you're super compassionate, you might say a prayer for them. You might be the living example for them. You might just wish them well upon their path. Well-wishing to anybody who's trying to do you harm or trying to drag you down is one great way of letting go and letting God. Because once you learn to let that weight down, once you learn not to let the world weigh you down spiritually, you can fly. You can do anything. You can have adversity come to your door and navigate your way through it effortlessly. You could have that big wave, but you've been practicing so long. You're so good at surfing that when the big wave comes, you just ride that wave. And not only are you surviving, but you're thriving. You're having a good time riding that wave. I've been having a great time since the New World Order has been trying to take over the whole world since 2020 when this all began. It's been going on longer than that, but like 2020 when they really just started trying to clamp down on everybody, right? I've been having the time of my life because I was prepared for these times. God prepared me for these times. I prepared myself for these times too. Don't get it twisted. You got work to do. You can't just, it's God is here helping us, working through us, giving us the empowerment, giving us a word, the encouragement, but you've got to do the work. You've got to have the willpower to do the work and get through. So God prepared me for these times, right? So I know it's like this big wave, and I'm just like surfing this giant wave, like I can hear I can feel that just riding this wave, and I'm having it's like it requires focus, it requires awareness, it requires vision, it requires balance, it requires a certain daring, a certain excitement. But it wouldn't have been there if this wave would have come when I first started on the path. It would have crashed over me and I could have drowned, right? So God's going to bring those things to you in your life, those events, for you where you're at, where it's going to seem like it might be too hard to handle. It might seem like it's too heavy for you, but God's going to be right there and say, I'm giving you what's going to strengthen you. And then as you rise, as you get stronger, the universe is going to bring you more tests to make you stronger. But those tests that come later would have knocked out the younger you when you first started. See the wisdom of the universe here. See the wisdom and the flow of the universe here. See the power of the universe as the universe is empowering you. It's giving you more than you think you can handle, but the universe knows exactly what you can handle. So it might seem like you're in a bad situation right now. It might seem like, this is heavy. This is the worst thing that could happen to me. Oh, my soul hurts. But the universe, in all of its infinite wisdom, has caused you to be in this position for one reason: to empower you, to strengthen you, to pick yourself up, to rise above, and learn what it really means to be empowered. And this is what it means to go with the flow. Follow life's outcome willingly, because life is a very intelligent event, more intelligent than any of us. And it knows what we need more than we know what we need. And when we can surrender to that, like life has presented itself to me this way. I don't want this to happen. I don't need this to happen. This is terrible. No, but when you flip it, just like the hater, when the hater was hating, I said, yo, that hater is there to empower me, to strengthen my resolve. Once you flip that, once you change your perspective and you say, yo, man, I know this is heavy, but this is what God has given me right now to empower me, you'll be empowered. And remember, ain't everybody gonna make it? There ain't no guarantee that everybody's gonna make it. A lot of people actually don't make it. A lot more don't make it than do make it. And what do I mean by make it? I mean, make it through the trial, make it through the tribulation, make it through to the other side. You know, after, I've used this example before, but after the divorce and I didn't see my kids no more, and I went from, having the 3 greatest beatings I've ever known, my 3 children in my life, daily, nightly, hourly, just playing with them, fathering them, teaching them, protecting them, providing for them, to have that day in and day out, the hugs, the love, the joy of that, the heartfelt warmth of raising children, just snatched from me to where I'm sitting in an empty apartment by myself, like my life had been completely changed. I felt like, yo, how am I going to make it out of this? How am I ever going to make it out of this? This is the worst feeling ever. But I knew these techniques, and I said, wait, something is happening here to where I'm being tested and my character is being tested right now. This is how life is presenting itself to me, and I must follow life's outcome willingly. And because I need to be empowered in the future, this is what the universe is given to me right now. And who am I to argue or disagree or complain about how life is presenting itself? Who are any of us to complain about how life presents itself to us? We as spirit beings, we're here by choice. Anybody could end their life and leave this place, right? No, but it takes a certain willpower. It takes a certain courage to come, wake up day in and day out until you are self-discovered, until you have mastered yourself and empowered yourself in such a way that God can work through you and inspire others and teach others and give birth to culture. And know you become part of this great brother and sisterhood. Once you do, and you're already part of it. But I remember those early days. I remember hearing people, and then even afterwards, like people didn't like me because I was white standing next to the teacher. I don't know who's he? But the real ones was like, yo, Zin, what's good, my G? Yo, oh, you rapping? Shout out to S5, right? This is a good story. Shout out my brother S5. Boom, there's a picture of me and S5. S5, one of S5 the hardest, right? S5 got the hardest lyrics out there. S5, like the industry been ignoring S5 because he would be a problem, because he could he could beat everybody in the industry in a battle. Like literally, S5 would beat anybody in the industry in a battle, hands down. Lyrically, flow, energy, and power. By the industry, I mean, I'm talking about the guys who are on television and on the radio and the best at this and the best at that. Nah. So, this is something that's interesting about power. The world's afraid of power. So I remember when I first met S5, right? We were out there and he jumped on the tour, and we were in, we'd be going to hotels, and a lot of times in the hotel rooms after the shows, we'd have ciphers, right? And the local MCs and rappers would be around there, and S5 would just be blazing and just dropping bar after bar, freestyle, written, whatever it is, and knocking them all out. Like everybody who came through got knocked out, right? And S5 knew I was just starting to rhyme. But he didn't say to me like, yo, you got no business rhyming, what you doing here? He didn't have none of that. Like, he actually helped me learn to rhyme. And so when we'd be driving, he'd be like, yo, Zin, you know how to count bars? And I'd be like, nah. He's like, oh, yeah. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. He just started showing me on the beats how to ride a 16, how to construct around the bars. And yo, man, that meant a lot to me. So while other brothers was hating on me, the one who's the dopest, you know, the one who's dopest as we're going on this tour, you know, and he's helping me. He's teaching me. He's showing me what he knows. Why? Because he's not jealous. He don't feel threatened by me at all. Why? Because he's great on his own. And when you're great on your own, you don't feel threatened by nobody. Why would you feel threatened by anybody if you're great on your own? There's room for everybody to be great. You know, the teacher KRS-One is the greatest of all time. So he's teaching me, showing me. He ain't looking at me like, oh, white boy, get out of here. No, he didn't do none of that. He empowered me. You know, he really showed me the depth of my skill and the depth of my rhyming and who I could create myself to be as an MC specifically. So shout out to the teacher and also shout out to my brother S5. Because what that showed me was that those who are real and got real skill, they don't feel threatened by anybody else. And I met a lot of rappers, a lot of famous rappers, a lot of OG rappers and underground rappers who are insecure about who they are. They might rap a good game on an album talking all this and talking all that. But in real life, they ain't none of that. They're afraid. They're weak. They don't know, but they might be criticizing you, but they can't even rap. How is somebody going to criticize how you rap when they can't even rap? And if they're really great at what they do, they're not going to feel threatened by you. They're going to help you and teach you and show you. You know, when I made my first album, an album that I really had no business making, I'd only been rapping for, 6 months, right? I made that album, had it burnt to a CD. And we were up in Chico, California, and we just did a show. And everybody's at my crib, and we just got people piled everywhere, right? And so S5, he's like, oh, yo, let me sleep in the van. The van had a cushy bed in the back and a stereo, so I gave him the keys to the van. And so, I don't know, it's like 2 a.m. and I hear my music blasting out of the van. And I look out the window, he's just sitting there like, yo, listening to my album, right? And so the next day he was like, yo, Zin, and he just started breaking my album down for me and what he thought and what he was hearing, what he was listening to. So if you really dope at what you do, if somebody's really dope at what they do, they're going to help you become dope too. And that's how we all grow together. This is what real hip hop is about. Now, I don't know about those other haters, right? They'll criticize, oh, he can't do that. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. But yo, man, really what they are is they're jealous of you and they're afraid of you. The hater is afraid of you. So when you got a hater who's afraid of you, what do? You follow life's outcome willingly. You flow with the power, the flow of power. There's an energy moving through you. That's the power. That's the current that's moving through you. That's that power. And it has to be unlocked, right? The body has to be able to use the power that we already have within us. It's like chi. We already have the chi within us, but we haven't cultivated it so it moves a certain way with the body. But once we've cultivated the chi through practice, we're able to harness the chi and move the chi. I had a lot of energy as an MC early on, but until I practiced and learned to move and how to rhyme and how to use my tongue right, how to use my voice inflection right, how to get my timing right, how to get my cadence right, what to say that would have impact, how to get my breath control right. Until I did that, that power didn't really have a channel and a way to move and go through. And look at that example then. A powerful MC will help you become a powerful MC. So if your circle ain't empowering you, but they're trying to pull you down, you need to find yourself a different circle to move in. You might just need to move by yourself. You know, you might need to let go of certain people to go with the flow if they're holding you back. Never be afraid to let go of somebody who's holding you back in life. Yeah, you can do it in a caring way, but the real caring way is for you to care enough about yourself and your purpose and your mission on earth, in earth, that you won't let nobody or nothing hold you back. And I'm not saying you let go of all your responsibilities. You will have responsibilities to your family, to your children, to your culture, to your community, to your brothers and to your sisters. You're still going to have a responsibility there. But part of going with the flow and that power is the power to move and navigate that responsibility responsibly. A lot of people are irresponsible with their responsibilities, and they always use their responsibilities as an excuse as to why they can't get anything done that they want to do on their purpose. And that's just what it becomes, an excuse. Oh, I can't write my rhymes because I got a newborn. I got two little kids. I can't be writing my rhymes. Yeah, you can. You've got to navigate that. You've got to go with the flow, find your power, and be able to write the rhymes while you got two kids wilding out. You have to. And every week I've noticed I've been slipping into this habit of saying writing the rhymes, but I hope you all know that has to do with anything. I'm just using the rhymes as an example because it's just, it to me was what helped me become everything else I've becoming. It's that foundation, and this is why we teach the 9 elements of mastering an element, because through the mastery, the self-mastery of one of the elements, and really 2 or more of the elements, as you're mastering hip-hop's elements, the 9 elements: breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, street entrepreneurialism. When you start mastering those, and you really pick one of the core 4, like one of the breaking, MCing, graffiti art, or DJing to master, one of those artistic elements to master, it will help you with everything else in your purpose, your mastery in life itself. That's why it's so important. Everybody has a half an hour in the day to work on their rhymes. Everybody has a half an hour of the day to work on their artwork. Everybody has a half, and this is just the practice. You need to find more time if you're really serious about it, but everybody has the time. If you took 30 minutes a day, right, let's say an album, 16 or 10 songs. Each song has 2 to 3 16s, so that's, let's say 30 16-bar rhymes. And you break that down into 8-bar rhymes. So 38-bar rhymes, 68-bar rhymes. That means that if you wrote 8 bars a day for the next 2 months, you would have a whole album written. You see that? If you spend a half an hour on only 8 bars, and you say, I'm going to write 8 bars a day, in 2 months, in 60 days, you would have your whole album written. You see what consistency does? You see what discipline does? You see how working on something day in and day out, even if it's not the longest, but you put some time and energy into it, you'll see the rewards, you'll reap the rewards later on in the future. It's so important. It's so important. Like, we're multidimensional beings, and this is what we're going to read in our God the Great event in the Gospel of Hip Hop tonight. Just have about, 5 or 6 paragraphs to read. But we're going to see this when we read our God the Great event tonight, that like as multidimensional beings that do a lot of things, like we have to manage our time in that way where we can, incrementally work on certain things throughout the day. If you want to stay in shape, if you want to keep your body in shape, you have to at least put in 30, 40 minutes, an hour a day on your exercise. It's a non-negotiable. If you want to have a peace of mind and stillness of heart and an insight into your life, you're going to have to spend 30 minutes a day in meditation, affirmation, and prayer. It's a non-negotiable. These things should be non-negotiable. Like when you sit down to eat, you should be in a place of peace where you could chew your food, digest your food, swallow it, so you get the full nutrition of the body. This takes discipline, and it also takes habit. We have to form these habits. And habit is a part of going and following life's outcome willingly. Healthy habits are a part of our empowerment. You know what? Let's do this. Let's throw up the word power right now. Now, we've looked at this definition before. I was reading it today. I was like, I remember looking at this definition and us going through power. So I'm going to read it kind of quick, but it's a good reminder. And I don't even know. I mean, we got almost 60 of these messages from the ministers out there. So, but this, I saw something different in this version while I was reading power. This is from the American Heritage 3rd edition, the American Heritage Dictionary, the 3rd edition. And oh, wow, check this out right here. Power. The ability. Remember we were talking about our ability to respond, our responsibility. What are we able to do? Power, the ability or capacity to perform or act effectively. Effectively. That's where the practice comes in. You know, I had energy, but until I could effectively use my sound, word vibration to MC, until I could effectively doing that, I didn't really have the power. I had the energy, but I had to learn how to harness that energy in the real power. That's what you got to do. And it's the ability or capacity to perform or act effectively. Just like those critics. They couldn't even rap, but they thought they knew how to tell me how to rap, right? All those critics, they couldn't even see the vision of the temple of hip hop, but yet they were going to try and tell me my vision was wrong, even though they had no vision of their own. People are going to do that to you, but they don't have the capacity or the ability to perform or act effectively. And this is where you have to be. This is where we've got to be. This is what real power is. In fact, we could almost just stop there. We got some long definitions because power has a broad word. But when it really gets down to it, I really like this definition right here, the most out of all of these. The ability or capacity to perform or act effectively. Number 2, often powers. A specific capacity, faculty, or aptitude. So that's a specific capacity, faculty, or aptitude. They use the example of her powers of concentration. What are your powers? Do you have the power of focus? Do you have the power of durability? Do you have the power of insight? Do you have the power of patience? You know, you could use the divine performances as powers. Because if you have love in your heart, that's a power. If you have forgiveness in your heart, that's a real power in real life. That's actually having real power because it's a specific capacity, a faculty, or an aptitude. Definition number 3, strength or force exerted or capable of being exerted. So strength or force that's exerted or capable of being exerted, that's like a power, like Mike Tyson, right? He's got the power to knock somebody out. So that's a strength or force. He can either exert it or he's just capable of exerting the knockout power. Now, he don't walk around knocking fools out like he used to, but that doesn't mean that he still doesn't have the knockout power because he's capable of doing it. He's capable of knocking somebody out. It's might, you know, synonymous with strength. So power and strength are synonymous with one another. The teacher, KRS-One, has the power to knock out and end careers. He doesn't do it though. He doesn't walk. He does it if he has to. If God tells him, "Yo, you got to battle now." But most of the time, he doesn't go around bullying lesser MCs and trying to knock them out and in their careers. No, what he does is he empowers them too, because that's what a real G does. That's what it is. Definition number 4, the ability or official capacity to exercise control or authority. Now, get the mind out of the colonizer because they want to get into these next few definitions is the colonizer's definition of what they think power is, which once again is a fallacy. Government power is a fallacy, it's a lie, and it's not the truth. Okay? The ability or official capacity to exercise control, authority. Well, you have authority over your body. Do you have the capacity to exercise control over your lusts, over your fears, over your doubts? Do you have that power and capacity to exercise control over that? That will empower you. Definition number 5, a person, group, or nation having great influence or control over others. Well, that doesn't always have to be, that doesn't say physical power, because once again, gun power, army, military power, that's a fallacy. It's really not power. They're cowards. You know, those who have to kill to get what they want and take what they want are cowards. But look at this from our hip-hop side, our hip-hop perspective. A person or group or nation having great influence or control over others. Well, the Temple of Hip Hop is a group, and we have great influence over others. Look at Hip Hop Appreciation Week getting bigger and bigger every year because of the power that we have in the hip hop community. It's real like that. Definition number 6, the might of a nation, political organization, or similar group. Once again, get out of the colonizer's idea of this and look at what this means. Hip-hop is a nation, and we are a mighty nation. We could be a political organization, but we'll see. We can completely exist outside of their group. But hip-hop as a group has so much influence over the world. Everybody had to join hip-hop. Everybody had to start rapping. Country music. People started even rapping in country music to be cool. I was thinking about Kid Rock really did that with Cowboy. I remember he made that song, I'm a cowboy, baby. Bam, 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 bam. And all the cowboys out in California, when I was staying up in the mountains, they were singing that song. And that influenced how country music was made after that. There was more swagger and a different kind of swagger in country music. Love it or hate it, it's a fact. Kid Rock literally changed country music with one song. That's the power of rap music and hip hop. Definition number 7, I disagree with this. To a certain degree, forcefulness, effectiveness. Yeah, I'll say forcefulness if somebody's forcing somebody to do something, that's not power. But if a big strong firefighter got to break through the door and he got to use his muscles from working out to save a kid and he forces that door open, that's the power right there. And effectiveness, it's an effective power. Definition number 8, a large number or amount. That's the power. That's more like mathematics right there. Definition number 9a, I like this one, the energy or motive force by which a physical system or machine is operated. So the explosion of the gas in an engine, in a combustion engine like you have in most cars, when the spark hits the gas and shoots the piston down, it's creating a force in a physical system. It's a machine that's operated by the combustion created by the fuel hitting the spark. It creates a small explosion and sends those pistons down. Those pistons turn the wheels. They turn the cranks that turn the wheels. Definition number 9b, the capacity of a system or machine to operate, the vehicle that runs under its own power. That's pretty self-explanatory. Definition number 9c, electrical or mechanical energy, especially as used to assist or replace human energy. We're going to go through these ones quick. You understand electricity supplied to a home, building, or community. That's power. They say the power went out when electricity goes out. They say the power went out. In physics, this is very interesting. The rate at which work is done expressed as the amount of work per unit time and commonly measured in units such as the watt and horsepower. Electricity, A, the product of applied potential difference and current in a direct current circuit. See, electricity, AC/DC, alternating current, direct current. It's like they used to just send a single bolt of electricity through the power lines and it would fry the lamps, it would fry the bulbs, it would fry whatever it was because the energy would keep building up. What Nikola Tesla discovered is that by making the alternating current, AC/DC, by shooting little bursts of power, like power on, power off, power on, power off, shooting little bursts of power, it kept the capacity of the light to keep going because it wasn't being overpowered. It was literally being powered itself. The product of the definition 11b, the product of the effective value of the voltage and current with the cosine of the phase angle between current voltage and the alternating current circuit. That's more of that. Mathematics, the number of elements in a finite set. Statistics, the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis where it is false. Number 14, a measure of the magnification of an optical instrument such as a microscope or telescope. Your third eye is a magnification and it's an optical instrument. So your third eye
can be used as a microscope or a telescope, meaning you can look at the micro or the macro with your third eye. That's some real power right there. Definition 15, powers in theology, the 6 of the 9 orders of angels. Woohoo! That's angelic power. Archaic, 16, an armed force. Nah, that's not power. It could be though if you really need it. If you can, we got to need to defend Hip Hop City. We'll have that need. We'll have that ability. As an adjective, power of or relating to political, social, or economic control. Yeah, come on, hip hop, we got way more power. They spend billions of dollars to keep us down. Who has the real power? Definition number 2, operated with mechanical or electrical energy in place of a bodily exertion. That's like tools, power tools. Definition 3, of or relating to the generation or transmission of electricity. There's more of that, electrical power. Informal, of or relating to influential business or professional practices. A power suit. See, that shows you there that like just the way you dress can show a certain power. Like you look at an MC who's dressed right, it adds power. An MC, street fashion and MCing go hand in hand. If you're an MC and you look the part, that adds power. That adds empowering to you. I was thinking like Method Man, right? Method Man, you just look at the way he dresses and you just know that dude's an MC. You say, oh, that's an MC right there by the way he dresses, right? By his style and his fashion. His fashion empowers them. All of Wu-Tang, really. Their fashion empowers their whole style, right? To supply with power, especially mechanical power. Oh, wait. Those who hold effective power in a system or situation. Okay, so right here, this is what I thought was really interesting when we get to the etymology of the word. It's from the Middle English, from Old French, poer, to be able. What? There's our dude Abel again, week in and week out. When it comes to empowerment, Abel's right there. Power from the vulgar Latin potere, once again, to be able, from potis, able, powerful. See? To be able is to be powerful. And that goes back to the very first one, the very first definition of our ability. Our ability, what can we actually do? That's the empowerment, even a machine. What can that machine actually do? If your car engine doesn't run, it has no power. If the electric grid is turned off, it has no power. Everything's there, there's just no power running through it. There's no electricity running through it. Same with us, same with you. If you have an ability that you can execute, that you can perform an ability, then you have real empowerment. So flip it back to if you can put down the weight of the haters and the doubters spiritually, if you can put that down, that's actually an ability. I have the ability to look past the haters. I have the ability to look past and work past and move past the doubters. I have a real ability. I have real power. Ability is power and power is ability. Are you really able to do it? A lot of people can talk about doing it, and you see it all the time. I saw it all the time leading up to 2020. Everybody talking about their spiritual power, charging exorbitant prices at these retreats, charging all this money. And then when the New World Order said, shut your business down, sit your ass at home, and shut the fuck up, all that spiritual community, they had no power. They had no ability. They didn't know what was actually coming. Why? Because they were yapping their traps, pretending to have power that they did not have. It was an illusion they were creating, and they were getting well paid for it. Now they're out of business, most of them. Why? Because when the real hits, your ability to be able to withstand it, when the storms of life hit, your ability should be able to not only survive the storm, but thrive in the storm. Okay? So the ability to make the best music I've ever made while the New World Order is trying to take over, right? To make the dopest videos while that's happening. The message from the Minista came out in the middle of the storm. And it's empowered a lot of us. And the empowerment for me comes from people's feedback, people watching it, people commenting on, people talking to me. You know, that's real empowerment for all of us, right? I'm just up here talking for all of us. As an MC, we're just representatives of what everybody's thinking. I'm not saying nothing that our collective hasn't thought. I might put different pieces together. I might say something because I'm getting a little bit older and hopefully a little bit wiser now with my years. But I ain't saying nothing new. This has been said before, okay? So we collectively know this. And you're part of that collective, right? So you're empowered too. And I mean, let's going back to that for a minute, the ability and the lack of ability. I knew that. I was watching these dudes, always being the most spiritual, always being the most expert on spirituality. And I was watching like, yo, man, my God told me a storm is coming. And their approach to what they call spirituality is not going to survive this storm. God showed me that, okay? And I was getting criticized. I was getting critiqued. I was getting dissed by all kinds. Forget the rap community. Forget that. Forget all the hatred towards me and the dissing and all that was happening from the so-called hip hop community. Like the spiritual community, as a minister, they dissed me harder. They were more disrespectful. I was so disrespected so many times. But once again, I already knew the metaphysics of this. I already knew that, their hate, that what they're saying, what they're preaching, what they're saying about me, and I already know that it's here to strengthen me. I already know this is to strengthen my resolve. And it's one thing when it comes from a rapper or other rappers, because there is competition in that. That's expected as an MC. But in the spiritual community, to get dissed and disrespected day in and day out, week in and week out like that, it's a little bit different because they ain't supposed to be about that. They're preaching love, but they ain't living love. They ain't even being love. They're being the opposite, okay? And I knew that. I watched it, and I just said, this is where my empowerment came in. I don't have to challenge them and debate them and diss them because then I would become unfocused. I knew I would say my truth. I'll speak my truth, but more importantly, I'm going to keep living my truth. And then when the storms of life hit, I felt like Noah, right? I felt like Noah in the ark. And I just floated and was empowered while the storms of life were hitting, while the flood's coming. And I don't even hear from none of them. I don't see none of them. That they disappeared. Like literally, they're out there, but they can't say nothing now because they had nothing to say since 2020 happened. Because all of their thinly veiled philosophies and all of their weak attempts to make money by using spiritual words failed them. And this is what happens. You have to focus yourself, focus and ignore the hate. Faith, that's one of the acronologist G. Simone, one of my favorites. Faith, focus and ignore the haters. Okay, faith, focus and ignore the haters. You'll be tempted to want to, why are you saying that? This is the truth. You might have to do that once in a while, but really, you got to focus and ignore the haters. Focus, get that laser focus and perception. You see them, you hear them from the peripheral, but you just keep moving forward in your focus and your resolve. And I stopped to debate everyone who wanted to debate me spiritually. Every time somebody said something negative about me, I had to get me in my feelings and all this. If I would have done that when the storms of life hit, I would have been where they were at, because by constantly debating and trying to convince them of something, I wouldn't have been working on myself. I wouldn't have been empowered myself. I would have been stuck right there with them, even though I didn't have the same mindset. And so this is important. This is why it's important to focus and ignore the haters. We have to do this collectively, really, but individually first. You've got to learn to empower yourself by focusing and ignoring the haters. The greatest invention in the world is going to have haters and doubters and cheats. Look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. Bringing salvation to the soul of the world. Right? Ending that old law, that old useless law, showing how useless that law was when compared to the God-man. into the Christ itself, showing that all you need is the consciousness and all you need is the awareness and the tapping into the Holy Spirit, the Christ itself. You don't need none of that law because there's no need for it. You are the Christ. You walk in perfection. So he's bringing perfection. He's bringing truth. He's bringing freedom. And the haters and the doubters are like, yo, we're going to kill you. We are going to nail your ass to the cross. And what happened? He focused, he ignored them, he went to that cross and he fulfilled his mission and purpose and God's will, plan, and purpose for his life. Why? Because he knew he lived eternal. He's an eternal being, influencing the world to this very day. Same with Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's hero was Jesus Christ, right? So Martin Luther King lived in that example. He focused and ignored the haters. He had to keep working to say and do what he had to do. And now, after all of everything that was every hater and everybody who had something to say about Martin Luther King, we're laughing at them now. We're literally laughing at them now. Just like I can laugh at those people. I laugh at the people in my past. It may have hurt my feelings. It may have got me kind of down. It may have made me, but I laugh at them now. So know that those who doubt you, the future's laughing at them. I know that anyone who doubts me now, the future is laughing at you right now. If you have hatred towards me, the future's laughing at you. Like we laugh at anybody who Martin Luther King had a ton of critics there. We laugh at him now. What's the names of everybody who was jealous and hated Jesus? We only know one, Judas, right? And the only reason we remember his name is because that's an example of who not to be and who not to become and what not to do in life and who to be careful of. But all the other haters, all the other doubters, we don't know none of their names. Why? Because they're not important. But they are important because they helped him become who he was. So those haters and those doubters are important in our lives. And when you can flip the sight to see that they're to empower us, that's going with the flow. Follow life's outcome willingly. Let's look at the gospel of hip-hop here. Put this up on the screen. Okay, you'll find this if you want to read along. You can go to page 622 in the 16th Overstanding, track 2, Our God, the Great Event in the Gospel of Hip-Hop, presented by the teacher, KRS-One for the Temple of Hip-Hop. On page 622, paragraphs 114, we'll be reading 114 to 123. Okay, paragraph 114. The decision to create yourself or not create yourself. See, this is empowerment. Let me stop right here before I even get started. The reason I chose this is because this is self-empowerment right here. This is the key to this is one of the deepest parts of the gospel of hip-hop. And this is a key to understanding your ability and your power to create yourself through how you perceive yourself, through the perception of yourself. Remember, the haters perceive you one way, but you perceive yourself as you truly are. And if you don't fall and listen to the haters and start listening to their perception of you, if you stay the course, you will be empowered. And this is how you perceive ourselves. This is what it is. The decision to create yourself or not create yourself rests within what you are willing to accept for yourself. You are who and what you create yourself to be. And your reality is only the dimensions you've learned to see. Read this again until you fully understand what is being said here. Now, I'll read that again, but I suggest you read that again a few times and meditate upon this. The decision to create yourself or not create yourself rests within what you are willing to accept for yourself. You are who and what you create yourself to be. And your reality is only the dimensions you've learned to see. Read this again until you fully understand what is being said here. Yes, you may be your father's daughter or your mother's son, but you are also who you are when you are not in their presence. You are actually many different actions and natures at once. Your identity is only the nature that you choose or rather allow to dominate your being. See that? Your nature, what do you allow or choose to dominate your being? Your confidence, I am who I say I am who I see myself as, or I am who others say I am. That's you. You get to choose. You get to choose to listen to the hate of others, or you get to choose to listen to the empowerment of God. You decide. And this right here, this paragraph is, I was reading this on a whole different study this week, but this is so important for our collective empowerment as hip-hoppers. And we'll speak about this in closing when we close tonight. Therefore, if we are to truly be and remain free as a people, we must get serious about overcoming the world and its many traps and obstacles. We cannot be dependent upon the same world that we wish to free ourselves from. Otherwise, where is our freedom? This is why we don't do no grant money to start our temple. This is why we don't even need the government's help for anything. Because if we get it, then we're codependent on them. We're dependent on them. We need to be dependent on ourselves, our God, and hip hop. So we cannot be dependent upon the same world that we wish to free ourselves from. Otherwise, where is our freedom? Same in our lives, in our daily lives. You cannot be dependent on those haters. If you're dependent on them, you're not free from them. You have to free yourself from the haters. And the way to do that is to be focused on your will, God's will, plan, and purpose for your life. Focused on what you see for yourself, and focus and ignore the haters. We cannot be dependent upon the same world that we wish to free ourselves from. Otherwise, where is our freedom? We must act free to be free. And the ultimate act of freedom is self-creation, which is an act of God. To be free with the power to free others, we must allow the nature or name, title of God to dominate our being. It is then that we return to our true nature in God, which is the essence of freedom and peace. Wake up. You are really none of the worldly titles, natures, and actions that you have come to accept for yourself. You become these identities to complete whatever task is before you. However, this is the truth right here, my nobility. In reality, you are a universal being. In fact, the only way that you can be so many different styles of people, a mother, father, daughter, son, wife, husband, CEO, employee, completing so many different tasks at once, is if you are truly universal in nature and multidimensional at the core of your being. A one-dimensional creature cannot do all the things that you do daily. Begin to acknowledge that the real you belongs to the very fabric of the conscious universe itself. You may say that you are black or white, etc. You may say that you are African, European, or American, but the truth is that these titles and the natures that come with these titles are all your own personal choices. The materials that create and sustain your physical body come from outer space, and your conscious awareness is of God. Nothing about you is material or limited. You are God's. You are spirit. You look at that. You are God's. That means you belong to God. You are spirit. You are a being of and in the conscious universe. You are choosing to live the way that you are living, for better or for worse. Say it again. Look at that again. My nobility, wherever you're at in life, realize this. You are choosing to live the way that you are living, for better or for worse. So I ask you, where did the little boy version of you go when you grew up? Where does your title of son or daughter go when you are not being a son or a daughter? Where do you put the titles that you are not presently using? Where does your job description go after work? Do you stop being a father when you sleep? When you put this instrument down to take a break, do you stop being a reader? Not at all. The answer here is that each of your titles, names, coexists with all of your others' titles and names all the time. They exist as part of your total being until you call one or two of them into your physical reality by choice. Simply by choosing or putting your focus upon any of your various names and titles, you cause them to dominate your being, and thus your nature, and thus your reality. This is what makes things real for you. See, that's why when we say I am hip hop and we focus on being hip hop, we say I'm putting all my focus upon being hip hop, we cause that hip hop identity, title, that name hip hop, to dominate our being and thus our nature and thus our reality. So when you can say I am hip hop and you mean it and you keep looking at it and we keep saying it over and over and we keep living it over and over and it dominates our being, then it dominates our nature and it becomes our reality. This is how we create my nobility. This is so incredible. This is some of the most, there are some advanced metaphysics in the gospel at hip hop, but this core right here, this is that God force right here. This is that God force right here. And be mindful of this. Respect this. Respect this. If you try to misuse this, it will disappear from your life immediately until you're ready and mature. But if you're ready, you say, I am hip hop. I am an MC. I am whatever comes after that I am. And you let that dominate your being, it becomes your nature and your reality. So be careful with this. Be careful with this. People do it all the time. I'm a sinner. If somebody keeps saying, I'm a sinner, I am a sinner, I am a sinner, that sin dominates their being and their nature and then their reality. So if you say, I am empowered, I am hip hop, I am forgiveness, I am faith, I am love, I am hope, that begins to dominate your being and your nature and your reality. For example, by becoming aware of your motherhood or by simply accepting your motherhood, you instantly become a mother with motherly motivations and parenting powers. Likewise, it is because you no longer want to act like a child that you no longer act like a child. And in many ways, you lose or set aside your childhood powers. Maturity is a matter of choice, and your choices are almost always a matter of mind. Those who believe in the authenticity of Santa Claus create Santa Claus experiences for themselves by choice. Those who lend themselves to criminal activity usually end up with criminal results. So what if you got serious about your God nature by choice? What if you seriously lent yourself to spiritual reality above your material conditions? What would be the quality of your life then? My nobility, what would be the quality of your life if you just surrendered to spirit? I am a spirit being in the physical world. What if you surrendered to your God nature and the God nature began to dominate your life? You see what I'm saying? You see what we're teaching here? It really works. So if you say, I am an MC, and you mean it, even in the beginning, if you don't know how to MC, but you keep saying it and doing the things, you will become an MC. And nobody, all those haters and doubters, won't be able to say nothing to you once you've mastered yourself, once you have the ability to do that. And this is about freedom from the world, especially when we get to us collectively and going to hip-hopia. Us hip-hoppers are going to have to start speaking about hip-hopia publicly. There's only like 3 or 4 of us who are ever doing it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it is so hard to talk about. But maybe it's just a matter of freeing your mind and your soul. And if you're afraid to speak about hip-hopia, maybe your soul either doesn't resonate with the idea or your soul is still living in fear of what others may think. Either way, focus and ignore the haters and what they may think, because we have to create something better for our future and for our children than what we're being offered in the world, where they can just shut down businesses, schools, and tell you you have to be locked in your home anytime they want. That's what they're working towards. It's happening in other parts of the world right now, and the future knows exactly what I'm talking about. The present might be really slow or pretty slow in catching up to what's going on right now in 2022. The future, who's watching this, is very clear of what was happening to us here in this present time. But they're here to empower us. What they're doing is to strengthen the hip-hop nation, strengthen the future nation that is being born right now. So my nobility, master this. I am hiphopia. Everywhere I go, I see hiphopia. I live in hiphopia already. It's already manifesting in my outer reality. So we get 20, 30, 40, 100, 3,000, 4,000, 10,000, 30,000 of us together. And we know this empowerment. And we know how this works. And we've experienced how this works in our personal lives and collectively. That's what gives birth to the new earth. This is what Martin Luther King was calling the promised land. So don't play around with these powers or just think that this is about, getting a little extra cash or a little extra money or a little something or putting a little extra swagger or a little extra style in that. It can. But you really want to take this to where it's really meant to go? It's meant to go to Hip Hop City. We just read about it in the Gospel of Hip Hop. To free ourselves from this system, we have to be dependent on us. We have to be dependent on us and our God nature and our God and what hip hop is, okay? Not what the world is. That's falling, that's failing. You hold on to the New World Order, you'll fall with the New World Order. Those who hold on to the New World Order and stand with the New World Order get a fall with the New World Order. And when that New World Order, as it comes crashing down, as it's crashing down right now before our very eyes, who will be left standing when the smoke clears? Who actually has the ability to speak and to create something new out of the ashes of this past rubble, of the colonizers' rubble? What can we create up out of the rubble of their failed system and their failure? Their birthright is failure. Your birthright, our birthright is God. Our birthright is nature and life. We are servants of God. We are servants of nature. We are servants of hip hop. We are servants. That's what a minister is a servant. I'm a servant of hip hop. Don't let those haters get in your head. And don't let the imaginary haters or the etheric haters. There's invisible haters, you know that? People are afraid of invisible boogeymen. People are afraid of what people think, and people may not even be thinking that. Beware of that. Beware of the haters that you create in your own mind. Get rid of them first. Get rid of every hater who tries to be inside you in your own head, your own doubt, your own fear. There's no reason. And as we were just talking there in the Gospel of Hip Hop, it's very interesting because we're talking about, the flow of power. How do we flow? What's the flow of power? Follow lives come out, outcome willingly. What is this flow of power that we're talking about here? Because we're talking about a spiritual lifestyle here, but we live in a physical body, right? I got this quote. I heard this quote this week by Steven Seagal, of all people. Steven Seagal has been really dissed by the American martial arts community because he's a traditional. He brings spirituality into it, and he goes way back, right? And they say he ain't a real martial artist. Steven Seagal was a real martial artist, high level. But look at this quote. I'll put it up here on the screen. I'm just going to fill the screen with this quote. The development of the physical man and the perfection of the spiritual self are the same. The development of the physical man and the perfection of the spiritual self are the same? Oh, it's real like that. Because as you master your craft, as we master our abilities, we become more spiritually aware. When we master our discipline, we become more spiritually aware. That's what the original martial arts was about. The mastery and movement of the body, the mastery of one's self. Remember, self-defense is defense against oneself. Once you've mastered yourself, who can stop you? What can stop you? Through self-mastery? Because through self-mastery, you're perfecting your spiritual self at the same time. They're not separate. Be mindful of people who want to separate the spiritual and the physical self as if they're two separate things. They're the same thing. We are spirits having a physical experience. That's why you got to get physical with it. That's where the discipline, this is where physical discipline comes in. Going for the run when you don't feel like it. Going and breaking a sweat when you don't feel like it. Doing the yoga when you don't feel like it. Doing the workout when you don't feel like it. Eating right when you don't feel like it. Making the right decisions when you don't feel like it. Resting when you need it. That physical mastery leads to the perfection of our spirit. So don't discount the discipline. Think about this. If you suffer from depression, but you get under the discipline of working out every day, and the endorphins are kicking in, and the body's getting oxygenated, getting all the oxygen in it, you ain't going to be depressed. If you get that heart rate going and moving, your brain starts thinking clear. You start feeling better about yourself because the body's feeling better. This is a holistic approach to life itself. This is being hip to one's hop. This is intelligent movement. So don't just work on the spirit and forget the body, and don't just work on the body and forget the spirit. While you're working on the body, be aware, while you're working with the body, be aware that the spirit is being perfected too. It's wonderful. This is why the 9 elements are like our martial arts, okay? First off, we don't fight each other physically in hip hop, but if we got to get it on with a battle or a debate, an MC's ready, a B-boy's ready. You see? The beats are ready, the DJ's ready. That's how we battle. We battle with our art. We battle with our ideas. We battle with our philosophies. So be ready for it. It's going to come. I mean, it came to me so many times when I first started public speaking. When I first go out and start speaking in the public, people would diss me right there in the crowd, and I had to, show my superior abilities. I had to display my power. I had to display my power for all to see, because I was ready, but I was also disciplined and focused and studied and knowing that someday somebody's going to challenge me and I have to be ready for that challenge. So be ready for it. You can't be slothful. One of the 7 deadly sins is just being lazy and slothful. We're going to close with the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Change. Got a great one here that we're going to close with. This one's by Brian Brown Walker. I tell you, I have 3 or 4 different copies of the I Ching, but this one is the only one I've been going back to consistently. He's brilliant. His breakdowns are the best. I think his translations, they just flow the best. And it's not one of the more popular ones. So and what I pay for this, I paid like $3 for this. It was $15 new. I got almost a brand new copy on eBay for $3. And that was including shipping and handling. Can't beat it, for getting your knowledge up. All right, put this up here. We'll put this up here on screen. Now keep in mind everything we've talked about. We talked about ignoring the haters. We talked about staying focused. We've talked about how you empower yourself through your ability, what you can actually do. We talked about what power actually is. And power really gets down to what are you able to do effectively, consistently. What can you do with your mind, with your body, with your hands? What can you do with your mouth? What can you do with your gifts? Okay, then we just also talked about as the art of self-creation, being these multidimensional beings. Okay? Being multidimensional means that we have a lot of opportunities, so we have to focus on those opportunities that are in alignment with God's will, plan, and purpose for our lives. We also talked about perfecting the spirit and spiritual insight and allowing the spirit to dominate our lives and become the reality that we focus upon. So as that spirit reality becomes what we focus on, we talked about that Steven Seagal quote too, about using our body as we perfecting our body, as we perfecting what we can do in the physical world with our abilities, we're also perfecting our spiritual abilities as well. Now, keeping all of that in mind as we read this from the I Ching today, the I Ching. Thunder over fire. Number 55, Feng, abundance, fullness. This is a moment of great influence is at hand. Prepare wisely and act accordingly. This is self-creation, my nobility. We started reading this here at 3:33 a.m. on my computer. The image of the hexagram thing is that of thunder and lightning filling the sky. It signifies a period of tremendous power, which, like all such moments, only lasts for a time. See, this is where we get into the seasons, my nobility. This is where we get into the flow of life. Go flow with the power. Watch the ebb and flow of the power. Here we are instructed how to know when the moment is ripe and what to do when it is not. Our influence in the world naturally ebbs and flows. At one moment, others are full of mistrust and forward movement is impossible. In the next, by steadfastly clinging to what is true and good, we reawaken their receptivity and growth can take place. Only by carefully observing these cycles, the opening and closings of others to our influence, can we achieve greatness. To do this, we must cultivate an attitude of independent watchfulness. In this state of quiet observation, we open our hearts to the aid of the sage, who in turn opens our eyes to what is possible and what is not. The sage, remember, is your higher self, my nobility. So your higher self, in turn, is going to open your eyes to what is possible and what is not. And this clarity enables us to move with strength and grace when the time is right. And in this, we achieve abundance. Feng also advises us Feng also advises us that influence cannot last forever. As the sun rises, so must it set. When receptivity gives way to mistrust and our influence begins to wane, we ought not to struggle to fortify or prolong it. Modesty and detachment require that we accept the turning of the tide by letting go of the passing moment. See, the haters, by letting go of what the haters say, remember, you let go of things spiritually. You let go of heavy weight spiritually to gain spiritual strength. By letting go of the passing moment, that hater is a passing moment, and entering the next with a correct and balanced attitude, we save ourselves for a more beneficial time. See that? See that? By we letting go of the passing moment, we let go of what that hater or that doubter is saying in your life, and you enter into the next moment with a correct and balanced attitude, saying, the correct and balanced attitude would be like, whatever that hater says, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. That hater's here just to strengthen me. We save ourselves for a more beneficial time. See, I was saving myself by listening to, by letting the moment pass of the haters. I was saving myself for the time that I would be speaking on camera like this with full confidence and full faith in what I'm saying. You got to let those moments of doubt and disbelief and those haters pass and see through it, because the time will come. Your time is coming, my nobility. The first line, the potential for an influential union exists. Maintain clarity and balance and act energetically when the way opens. When it closes, withdraw without resistance. This is going with the flow. Follow life's outcome willingly. This is the flow of power. Mistrust and second line. Mistrust and envy make having an influence impossible. Inferior elements will disperse if you hold firmly to inner truth. Once again, see that? The mistrust and envy make having an influence impossible. When people don't trust you and they're envious of you and they're hating on you, you don't have any influence over them. It's impossible. But their inferior elements of what they're displaying, it will disappear if you hold firmly to inner truth. Third line, egos soar and the opportunity for influence is eclipsed. Let go of anything that is incorrect and wait patiently. The higher power will come to your aid if you do this now. This is timeless wisdom. timeless. Let go of anything that is incorrect and wait patiently. The higher power will come to your aid. The higher power will come to your aid if you do this now. Fourth line. The darkness gives way if you relate properly. Energy joined to modesty brings good fortune. Energy joined to modesty brings good fortune. We were talking about that power. Power joined to modesty brings good fortune. What is that modesty here? This means that, hey, you can hate on me all you want. I know who I am and I know what I'm about. That's going to bring you good fortune, my nobility. Fifth line. When we cling to truth and humility, what is needed comes without delay. Fifth line. When we cling to truth and humility, what is needed comes without delay. The path of the sage is constantly showered with blessings, and so are you if you stay upon it. Constantly showered with blessings. Oh, I can't even tell you. My life is constantly showered with blessings. It wasn't always like this. It was, but I didn't see the blessings for what they were. I didn't know what the blessings were. So stay on the path, my nobility. Those blessings are showering on you right now. You just don't see them or know where they're at. But once you do see them and know where they're at, it's just constant. You wake up to it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Sixth line. If you make improper use of abundance, misfortune results. Pride and harshness towards others fell your own roof and leave you in the rain. That last part is saying don't become a hater. Don't become like them. Just because they're doing it don't mean you need to do it. You know what I'm saying? Focus and ignore the haters. Follow life's outcome willingly. This is your empowerment, my nobility. Let go and let God. See it for what it is. This is the art of self-creation. And as multidimensional beings, we apply this to, like I say, I apply this to MCing. I apply this to my physical health. I apply this to my spiritual health, to my mental health, to my psychic abilities, to my ability to write my books, my ability to cook the right food and eat the right meals, to help take care of my folks, to help minister to my nobility out there, to create projects for the Temple of Hip Hop. We are multidimensional beings. You got all of these things that you can be doing. So don't just focus and ignore all that noise and focus on who you are and who you are becoming. And let it be the truth. Let it be freedom. Let it be God. Let it be light. Let it be love. Let it be health, love, awareness, and wealth. Peace, love, unity, and safely having fun. Let it be peace and prosperity. You already know what it is. You already have it within you. This is just a word of encouragement to keep going forward on your path, on your and my path, no, my nobility. On your path, my nobility. Go forward this week in empowerment and go with the flow of your empowerment. And there it is. Hey!